Don't worry about it. And then they die for you to keep going, which is kind of cool. And then you, Kaine and Emil press on and fight them for real. And this is where you learn most of the interesting backstory to the game that at least the game is willing to tell you. And it's the big twist that you guys are replicants, which is actually in the name of the whatever. But you guys are shells of humans, and the shades are humans, like what's left of humanity, just roaming around and waiting to get back into the shells. And it's ironic that you guys somehow managed to develop human sentience and are just fully functioning without them now. So
Yeah. So the I don't know how much of the story you want to explain right now. Do you want to go ahead
as much as you can.
So Devil and Popola are called observers. They're basically like these machines that are meant to just make sure everything goes smoothly, and the Gestalts and the replicants get to come back together and form humanity at some point. And shit's gone awry, so that's not happening. The Black Scroll is actually a disease from Gestalt's trying to merge with the replicants, and it's not working properly now for some reason, and that has to do with the replicants gaining their own sentience. So that's what that. Yeah, basically, it's been too long. Things aren't working anymore, and yeah, that's not going to happen at this point. So yeah, that's sort of where the world is now, and it is interesting to get that perspective because, I mean, you've been killing these things the entire game.
Yeah, and there's when you kill the little, and I remember this, and it was true. I did not know it, but it hit harder when I was watching that Clemps video, and he's like, yeah, when you're killing the shades out in the wilderness, they'll just drop books, like school books.
Yeah, and the small ones don't try to hurt you either.
Yeah.
So you're killing kids.
Yeah, it's it turns the whole thing on its head, which is again opposite of Kingdom Hearts.
I think one of the most interesting things, which is in the Japanese book for this game, is that there's a story which is why I think Young Nier works better than Papa Nier, because I don't think this would work with Papa Nier. There's a story where 15-year-old young Nier is trying to do whatever he can to help his sister and make money, and he ends up selling his body to a man in Seaside. Gets molested and stuff. There's later on a group of villagers are sent out to hunt a group of shades, and whenever Nier goes out, that man is part of the group. And Nier ends up killing that man in the process. And he notes that killing that man feels eerily similar to killing shades.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which I think is a fun little bit of story.
Interesting. Okay.
Which, again, I think that there's no way that would work with Papa Nier. There's no way Papa Nier would let a man in Seaside molest him. He's a big buff guy dude. He would fucking stab him,
Yeah. Well, there you go. This is the big twist that kind of shifts the perspective of what you've been doing throughout the game, and will sort of inform the rest of the playthroughs that you do, because this game is heavily suggested that you do multiple endings. Do the multiple endings of it. So
what? How was that first, whenever you first got to this first ending and you realized the context of what's actually happening? How did that what was that like for you?
It's pretty mind blowing. I think half of me already knew that I wasn't a human, because again it's called Nier Replicant, and as a fan of
the title kind of spoiled it.
What's the damn movie? I'm a big fan of it. Blade Runner. As a fan of Blade Runner, it's kind of a given. But I did not know that the shades were specifically the humans. So it was like, whoa. Part of me immediately, before they quickly told me that wasn't the case, part of me thought that their visuals were just impaired. The replicants' visuals were impaired. and that they
Oh,
were they weren't black, they just to us looked black, and we're actually just humans that were walking around. So I thought that was kind of, that'd be cool, and then turns out it wasn't. It's just like, it's like a weird magic thing, or they're like
yeah,
their
it's
souls or
basically
something.
like their souls. Yeah,
Yeah, which is still cool. I was like, whoa, this is crazy, this is crazy. And then it makes you think about all the bosses that you fight and what their stories might be, which obviously we'll talk about in the endings. But um, no, that was crazy, and it really makes you think about the actions that you've taken to get this far, and the game's like reinforcing that, constant reinforcing that shades all need to be killed. Like all the shades, we need to kill them all, and yada yada. And just the insistence that the enemy is the shades, because the game, you don't even think about it because we're so used to, like with video games, we're like, these are the bad
yeah,
guys. So
monsters. Yeah,
yeah, you're kind of, you don't think about it when the game's like, these are the bad guys, these are the bad guys, because we're so ingrained with it. But it does emphasize how you think that they're the bad guys throughout the game, and it's just kind of it's a funny perspective thing. And you told me, you thought perspective is the name of the game here. What did you think when
yeah.
you first
It's a
hit this
it's a
twist?
game. It's a game about perspective, dude. The first time I had no fucking clue. The first time, before again, Replicant's not even in the title. It's just called Nier. I had no clue. I was like, how did this, like, how are you alive? And there's a version of you in the past and the version of you in the future and all that stuff. I knew something was happening. I did not understand the full context of what was happening until that moment. And then I had sort of, like, after I beat the first ending, I had to go back and read up on it. And then, of course, I played the other endings. But I was just like, my mind was fucking blown. I was just like, whoa. I was like, I mean, the game. I've played other games where it's like, oh, actually not a good guy, and also, this game is like, no, you're the bad guy of the game.
I don't know. Do you see it that way?
Sorta, in a sense, especially with the second, with the first ending. You sort of doom humanity.
And that's one thing that Yoko Taro talked about, is he doesn't want you to have a specific way to view it. So
but
I guess,
again, like I said, I would call it a game of perspective.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
in the perspective of the character of Nier, he's doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he's setting out to be inherently evil.
Right. Yeah, I don't see him, and I guess let's keep this discussion going, because this is kind of the crux of the game. But the ending is, you do find the Shadow Lord, and you battle him and kill him.
Yeah.
And,
Well, there's a few moments before that where, like, Emil gives his life.
Yeah.
To save you guys. And then Vice starts losing his powers. So it's basically just going to be you and Kaine.
Yeah. The characters, things happen. Yeah, but you fight the Shadow Lord, and you kill him. Well, you don't kill him, but you beat him. To get the cutscene going, and then the Yona that has been actually transferred into a human. Like, it's actually happened now. Like, the one time they got it to work, she's like, oh, the other Yona is, calling out for you, and she loves you, and this isn't right. We're, like, stealing it. So she just drops it, goes in the sunlight, it's over, and it's back to being just the replicant Yona, the shell.
Yeah,
Which,
they have souls now, in a sense,
Yeah, so with that in mind, you think that Nier is the bad guy?
Yeah. So what happens basically, which I don't know the full logistics of this. Again, there's a lot of backstory to this game.
Yeah.
Stuff you could read up on. Basically, with the Shadow Lord is sort of in control of a lot of what's happening, and basically with wiping him out after you kill him, you, like, finish him off. There's no possible way that the humans, the replicants and the gestalts can come back together. Like, you basically doomed everybody.
Yeah. Well, because
So-
I think it's because well, yeah. You just have to read up on it, but that's essentially the crux of it. It gets very complicated. But yeah, that was the last chance for humanity to piece itself back together, and you kind of end it. I think about that. That's a careful observation of. So you're the bad guy, but I don't know. It's hard to say, because the humans don't set themselves up as being that great either.
That's true.
Set up. I mean, look at Emil's story.
Again, I think it's all just about the circumstance. I think, and again, it's also just about perspective. I think in the grand scheme of things, you're the bad guy. I think that's the point in like the Nier history where they would look and be like, that guy fucked us. But in terms of just Nier himself, I totally understand the drive and why he wanted to, why he did what he did.
Yeah, well, Nier. Let's be also clear that Nier also would have ended the Shell's history as well, the Replicant's history, because they require the body of the human to exist, and those won't exist anymore. They'll all die out, so the Replicants will. But again, I mean, his view of Tokotaro specifically, his view of living creatures just seems so cruel. It's hard to imagine that ending it would be the villain thing to do. You know what I'm saying?
If you exist in a Yoko Taro game, you're fucked anyway, dude. Like I said, and this is sort of the same thing in the first Drakengard. Like I said, it's like a Dynasty Warriors type hack and slash for part of the game, then like a flight game for part of the game. And that game, you're also not like the hack and slash isn't fun, and it's not supposed to be fun because killing people isn't supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
That's sort of the point. So yeah, he's always had like a backwards view of this kind of stuff. That's kind of like it's like almost anti-game design.
Yeah. I guess this whole thing kind of ties into the extra endings of this game.